Hey everyone, welcome to my show, The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson, and today I have an incredible photographer with me, Greg Davis.
Hey
Welcome,
guys.
Greg. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
He is part of the National Geographic Image Collective. I think there are about 300 photographers that are affiliated with National Geographic through that. He's done a tremendous amount of photography all over the world. Filmmaker, you've won so many awards. The accolades go on and on and on and on. There's too many to list here, but welcome, Greg. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I sure appreciate it too.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk mostly, well, let's start at the beginning of your photography career. Now, I know you did some photography in high school, right?
I did. Yeah, my dad, it was 1987 when I was a senior, and my dad had a Canon E1. It's an old film camera, and it was the family camera that we took to our one family vacation we took in the summers over to Louisiana to the family reunion.
Cool.
And I grabbed it one day, and I thought, what a great idea to take this camera at school and be able to just engage with other people. It just gave me a passport to go and talk to other people. And so I started in the film days in journalism class. I was in the dark room during the class.
Actually hand developing film. This is like legit.
Yeah, it's really magical. You know, it's been a long time since I've done it, but see the unknown appear, which is metaphorical for life too. Because
like magic.
The work that you do, you sometimes don't know the work that you're doing now on yourself or with your surroundings. Like, is it working? And the magic suddenly happens. So I love the metaphor of film, and I've started shooting with it recently again, actually.
Really? You came full circle. That's super cool.
Yeah.
But then you went off to college and you didn't pursue any artistic pursuit.
No, Dad had other things in mind. So he asked me, you know, son, you're about to graduate from high school. What do you want to do? I said, I don't know, art school? You know, I didn't have a clue. And he said, no. What do you want to do with your life? I was like, I really don't know, Dad.
They're like, for real, how are you going to pay your bills, right?
Right. I had no clue. So I was like, I don't know, art school? And he's like, no. What do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know, Dad. He goes, well, tell you what, go to Baylor. I went to Baylor. Your grandmother went to Baylor, or your granddad went to Baylor. Your great-grandmother went to Baylor. So I was a fourth generation Baylor Bear. And I said, well, I'll need some help paying for it. I'll get a job waiting tables or whatever. So he sent me off to Baylor, and I really just the camera did not make that transition to the new life at school. Photography can be solitary. I mean, but back then you would be in a dark room. You know, of course I would be in a class, but you'd be in a dark room and you're behind a camera witnessing life. And so
I'm an observer.
Yeah, you're more of an observer. And that's for me, that wasn't a good place in a new environment.
Right.
At 18 years old, I wanted to engage socially. So
makes sense.
I engaged socially.
I bet you did. Didn't we all?
Sure. Yeah.
But let's not go there.
No.
Anyway, so after that, I guess you went into a traditional type of profession or a corporate?
Yeah, I got my degree in business. I got a marketing degree. It really was just, honestly, the quickest way to get me out of school. I was not a very good student at all. I wasn't a good studier.
Yeah.
And so it was the fastest way out, basically. Okay. I was on the 5-year plan. Dad was ready for me to move on. And so
get this thing done, wrap it up.
Yeah, but it was expensive back then. It's even crazier now.
Yeah.
A private university. And so I got a degree, and then I landed in the tech field. And first thing I did after graduation was I traveled to Australia and New Zealand for 7 months and hitchhiked down the coast of Australia and New Zealand.
Wow. So that probably sparked a little bit of your travel wanderlust. And
yeah, I had the bug.
That's a long time.
Well, I spent a month in Europe on a Euro pass when I was in college, and that set the tone for my life. And then after graduation, I spent 7 months hitchhiking down the coast of Australia, and crazy situations, and just worked. I mean, I picked fruit. I dug holes. I cleaned toilets, I
Whatever
washed
it took,
dishes.
huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I
That's
was just a
incredible.
little 21-year-old surfer cat just making my way down the coast. And I wasn't a very good surfer. I was East Texan. But I grew up sideways on a board. I owned a skateboard shop when I was 16 and spent a lot of time on my skateboard. So I've been on board. So
You had some moves.
I got some moves. Not so much now. But
Right.
yeah, so that was the
Wow.
7 months, and I came back, and I was my mind had been broadened. The world shrank on me, and
Adventure kind of does that for you, right? Just new
yeah,
places, new people, new experiences. And I know you did that traditional corporate thing for a while, and then life has a way of kind of grabbing us and shaking us, doesn't it?
hmm
Sounds like you had a year of shakeups that kind of got you to reassess
I had
everything.
4 years of it.
4?
hmm
Wow. When did that start for you?
So I was in corporate America. Had worked for Dell and Compaq and Hewlett Packard, and this was now we're into the 2000, 2000, 2001, right? And that actually 2000. Actually, the first 4 months of 2000. I was a corporate guy. I wasn't an artist. I wasn't a photographer. Didn't even really, I mean, I may have taken my camera on a vacation or two, but I wasn't looking. I wasn't seeing. It was more about just capturing me with my friends or whatever it might be. Wasn't capturing what I do now, which is the cultural aspect of these places that I go and the soul of the places that I go. So, sorry, somebody tried to open my door and it threw me.
Oh, that's
The
okay.
door, the door's locked.
That's
So,
okay. They can get in,
that's
so
why.
just keep going.
Uh, yeah, so 2000, the first 4 months, working in tech, and I had 3 family members died in the first 4 months. My grandmother, my cousin, and my father,
Wow.
and that was a heavy
Feel
hit.
like
And
that. You
yeah,
can't even recover from one without the next and the next. And
it was boom, 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 boom,
oh
3 in a row.
my
By
God.
the time May rolled around, a few days before my birthday in May, my dad had passed. That was number 3, and
Wow.
I don't necessarily want to go into it too much. I mean, I feel like it was just the start of this. This is the first of a lot of things that happened. Not to bemoan or, you know,
I
or
think tragedy really does spark
change.
something. Yeah, it gets you to pay attention and really think about your life.
hmm
Makes you question, like, what is really important and what's this really about. And sometimes it takes something that deep to make you stop and think about those things. Because when you're in life, people are just going to work and cashing their check and paying their bills and hanging out. They don't necessarily go there.
Yeah, people ask me a lot, like, how did you get to this place? How are you here?
Right.
At this, not this level, because I don't like to think there's a level, but
I mean, you've had a level of success, Greg, doing your work,
I
sharing.
have. I've given up. I've worked hard for it,
Yes,
for
you
sure.
have.
And I've had my lucky breaks. I think the harder you work, the more breaks you have the
Well,
option of getting.
I think you draw those to you, but none of this would have happened if you hadn't have just kind of decided to take a break from what you were doing. And
Well, I had some God winks, I call them, the synchronicities. Some
yeah,
serendipity happened. So,
tell me about that.
well, I mean, and this thing keeps going too. I mean, with the 3, and then there was all kinds of other stuff that was going on, heartbreak and financial loss, big loss, and I flipped my car 3 times. I was attacked by a gang. I got 40 stitches in my head and neck from a violent attack,
This okay,
unprovoked.
life was someone was trying to get your attention.
I'm hard-headed.
I guess you were like, and I'm just going to ignore that one and that one. And
They
you're
were,
like, well, I think we'll just throw a gang in there and just really get.
yeah, and I've got the scars to prove it, and yeah, it was rough, unprovoked. People always ask me about that, and the simple short answer is it was an unprovoked attack by a gang, and the gang, in order to get into the gang,
They
the
had
new
to hurt
draw blood.
somebody or.
Yeah, they draw blood, and I was the blood.
Oh, dude.
So
Sorry.
I didn't even see it coming. It was a bottle over the head from behind and then a beat down, and I got away. But there was 3 on me and 11 total.
Holy shit! How'd you get away? Grace of God,
Superman.
I guess. I don't know.
The body, we are stronger than we.
We're primed for survival.
Yeah, you're gonna survive. You're gonna do everything you can, and you've seen these things of the people lifting up the car when someone's under it. That kind of that's what happened basically.
Tell me what your recovery was like. Were you able to go?
Well, I went and saw a psychiatrist about it. I'd never seen a psychiatrist. I went and talked to a man, and he was very helpul. I did quit drinking. So I was after all that, I started drinking heavily.
Sure. That's the go-to. That's what that's the socially acceptable thing to do when you're in pain, right? When people expect you to go out to the bars, have some drinks, and
oh no, I didn't even go out to the bar. I was paranoid. I didn't know who they were.
That's even harder because drinking is an isolated experience too. When you're struggling with it. So wow,
those were hard times.
Yeah, a lot of suffering.
They were really hard times for me.
Really deep.
So I was drinking heavily. I was in pain from heartache, because I had
physical.
The love of my life broke up with me during all this too. Cheated on me. So this is like the perfect country western song, but my dog did not die.
It's like the best, a number one single right here.
It was brutal. So I've actually had 2 songs written about my life. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is such an honor. I mean,
sure it is.
Yeah. I mean, if the story can inspire someone, to know that good things can lie around the corner. I don't have the answer. I just can tell you my story. And if that can inspire someone to just hang on or to make a change.
It's so tough because when you're in the dark, it's so hard to let the light in. No, it's day after day of just getting up and just feeling the same and not knowing you don't like it, but not knowing how to get your way. You don't claw your way out of it either. It's just got to be such a tough place.
Well, in that case, during that period, because there are other periods too. It's not just, we have periods in our life. It's like this, up, down, up, down. Hopefully it's not too far up and down, but you're going to have problems. It's just how we face them. And I'm not the best at it. I don't sometimes face them very well.
Well, we're human too,
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, what got you to pivot and really switch?
I
actually do something radical. I'm just gonna leave my job and I'm gonna pack up and go on this adventure.
So it really started with a couple of decisions. One was I was brought to. The other I made. The one that I was brought to was I met a young lady, and she was a massage therapist at let me think about the name of this place, the Broadmoor Hotel. The Broadmoor is in I was working in Colorado Springs when all of this was going down for the most part. I was working for Hewlett Packard. The woman that I met was working at the Broadmoor, and she was a healer. And the Broadmoor is 5 diamond, 5-star. The presidents stay there. They bring in healers from all over the world. It's like, it's known.
Legit.
It's totally legit. I wasn't that caught up into that sort of thing at that time of my life. I was 33, I think, maybe at the time. But I met this young lady, and we started dating. And it's not my style if she's a massage therapist to ask her for a massage. That's what she does all day. So when she's ready, she'll offer. Mm-hmm. So about a month in, she said, we were hanging out at her house, and she said, would you like a massage? And before she even got it out, I think I was already flat.
You're like,
okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. Awesome. And so it was, I think it was my first professional massage, and it was wonderful. And then I was completely relaxed, and I wouldn't say I was asleep. I was between sleep and awake, but I wasn't there. And I do recall her leaving the immediate area. Again, I wasn't super in tune with exactly what was happening. I was sort of unconscious. And I just remember this energy field I know this is sort of woo-woo, but this is
I'm an
what it
energy practitioner, remember? So
I know.
bring it on.
Sometimes I tell this to people and they look at me like I'm
That's my world, is dealing with.
completely insane.
So let me have it. Tell me how.
Well, what happened, my experience was this presence came over me for sure. And the presence had almost, it wasn't a vocal thing. It was just
Feeling.
yeah, it was just, I'm here. You can trust me. I want to come in, but I need you to allow me to come in with your permission. That's wasn't vocal. It was just, that was the energy that was shared. And as soon as I agreed, and it wasn't, again, I wasn't like thinking, okay, well, okay, come inside. It
No,
wasn't
was
that.
the perfect time to get you because you were between awake and sleep, and you're kind of more open.
It was a soul level thing.
Not analyzing. You're more in a place of presence and maybe receptivity.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I just was, it's a different, I was on a different wavelength, and I just allowed, I remember allowing.
What was that like for you once you were able to experience that energy?
Well, my experience was, I mean, it was amazing. So as soon as I allowed, accepted, this flood came in, and just like from fingers to toes and it was timeless. Time did not matter. It was almost circular in a way. Don't know how long it lasted. Didn't matter. I wasn't even sure what was going on. I was just like, and again, I wasn't super like, I am here now. I was
Right. Sometimes, when
Sure.
healing happens, sometimes when there's going to be a lot of work done on you energetically, your team kind of moves your consciousness over to the side a little bit. They kind of, or they put you to sleep, because there's going to be a lot of trauma removed, or there's going to be a lot of things happening in your field that, if you were consciously aware, might be too painful for you to experience. So there's a little bit of that, where sometimes, especially if it's a deep emotional kind of healing or something, you're just kind of either put to sleep or kind of lulled and kind of pushed off to the side a little bit, so you're not fully aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
Sounds like that's what happened for you.
I think so. I still can't explain it. I at this point, I still didn't even really, I wasn't computing it. I wasn't questioning it at the time. Don't know how long it lasted. And then almost like gum off of it just stretched all the way. And it didn't say goodbye. It didn't say anything, but the energy of it was
Just receded in.
almost like, thank you for allowing me to come inside. It was just this gratitude thing happening a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I felt her physical touch. And then I came to this moment on that table face down. Then I was there, right? And then she said, get dressed and I'll be waiting outside. So I sat up and just like, wow, like, what the world just happened then? Like, I got dressed. We immediately walked across the street to the ice cream shop, and I'm cross-eyed. I'm sure my hair's like, oh my God, what just hit me? And she looks at me. She goes, how was your massage? And I said, what happened at the end? What was that at the end?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, and she smiled a little bit, her Brooke thing, and said, well, I normally have to ask permission to do this, but I was told that you needed Reiki. And I said, what word was that? Reiki. I don't even know what that is, and what it means. And so she was a Reiki master, and she did Reiki unannounced, which is fair enough. I don't hold, fair. I'm fine. It was a magical experience.
Get permission from the higher self.
Yeah. So that's what happened.
Agreed to prior. They will ask with integrity if it's okay to run the energy on you.
That's what it was.
Must have agreed. So
and she was interesting thing. She was a 7 years sober AA member, Alcoholics Anonymous, and here I was in the depths of my mess, medicating big time. So I feel like, she was brought to me.
It's so interesting how the universe delivers you to you the right people, the right opportunities, the right moments,
Mm-hmm.
right on time. It never ceases to amaze me how that happens, but you have to be paying attention.
I didn't necessarily ask for that. I didn't ask for that exact situation. So I just trusted after that.
Right.
I'd still going Reiki. What is that? I don't even, but wow, what an amazing,
Really
I
cool.
think that it,
Date for a long time or?
so after that, I'm back. I'm in my mess. I'm a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in pain. And that didn't make everything go away. I'm still drinking. I'm just not a happy person.
Right.
And she broke up with me probably 2 months in. I'm going to say maybe 3 months we dated. And she looked at me when she broke up with me. She said, "You have a problem. I love you, but you have a problem and I can't be with you."
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't trust her and love her, and if that moment wouldn't have happened that opened me up, I would have said, probably would have said, "Oh, whatever." But I went, wow. And I looked in the mirror and I quit drinking January 2004. I have drinks now. I quit drinking then completely. I just give myself 6 months. Just do 6 months. And so I gave myself 6 months, and I remember crawling out of the bed. And I believe this is before I made that decision. I remember crawling out of the bed one night at 3:00 in the morning, shivering. I was in Colorado. It wasn't from the cold. It's from the fear of my own self. Like, I was shivering. I was on the ground. The light coming through the window, through the shades. It's almost like I saw myself outside of myself. My back is striped with the light coming through. And I just said, "Oh my
What a
God,
surreal experience.
you got to help me. I'm at the bottom. I'm at the bottom."
That is sometimes where we need to be in order to really shift. Because we don't pay attention. We're so good at being like, we're fine, I'm fine, I got this, and then eventually something just brings you to your knees and you have to take a look at yourself.
I was stripped bare, basically. And I just said, I surrender. I give up. Use me or lose me. Mm-hmm. If you help me and put me on my path, I'll forever speak of it. Wow. I've been forever speaking of it. Through the work. I work my tail off. We all work hard. I work my tail off. This stuff gets moved around the nation via Sprinter van and set up and break down and set up and break down. And it's really hard, but it's almost like my promise to
your work.
Continue to do it.
It spoke to my soul. I'm going to put your website down below here so people can check out your work, your website. And also, do you have on your website a calendar of
events
that you do and where you're going to be?
I actually have an open studio. I don't know when you're going to
I'm going to get up there sometime and check it out. You're in Austin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not too far from me in Houston.
I come to Houston. I just applied to the Bayou City Arts Festival. I haven't done it in a few years, but it's in Memorial Park.
Hit me up if you come on down, or vice versa, for sure.
Yeah, well, I've got this place is in South Austin. I'm open this weekend, December 7th, 8th, and then I'm doing the Armadillo Christmas Bazaar, which is a big art and music 40-year-old thing. It's pretty cool to go to. Cool.
So did you take that 1 year gap after you broke up with this massage therapist?
So all that happened, and that night, on the ground, shivering, just like, oh my God. Then I quit drinking January 1st. And then all of a sudden these things started happening, and I wish I would have written them down, and I don't have a very good memory. Yeah. But there were things that happened. I remember the last one that happened was that a couple called me and said, "Hey, we're about to go around the world for 1 year. Would you be interested in going with us? We'd love to have you." And I was like,
wow, who gets that kind of opportunity out of the blue? Oh my God.
I was like, okay, I'm in. I mean, and there were other things that led up to like, wait, my stuff, my job, my dog, how am I going to get out of this pickle?
Your lease, if you're renting.
I had to break the lease. Found a place for the dog. Again, synchronicities and all these things started happening that were just allowing me to clear and clean and like pare down. And the last was like, I don't think I can afford to store my stuff. And my aunt called and said, hey, she'd heard I was looking to like maybe do this. And she said, you can store my stuff in the garage. I won't charge you a dime. So I was like, well, that saves $2,000 or whatever it would be, or $3,000. And I didn't have a ton of money. I had a little bit of money. I spent $17,500 that year to go around the world.
That's not bad.
And went through, I don't know, 14 countries. I brought a little thing to help. Brought that with me. Wow. That's from 2004. That's a $400 point and shoot Olympus. I mean, this is what started it.
Been around the world with you for sure.
And I was looking to reconnect. I didn't trust people because they had attacked me. I didn't trust the system because it had stolen from me. I didn't trust women because they had cheated on me. I didn't trust God because everybody's dying.
I felt so alone in those moments, like I got nothing right now.
I had those two friends who called and said, we want to have you. We'd love to have you. And they needed me a little bit for the protection of having three. And, his wife was, she had seizures too. And so, just to be there.
An extra body and an extra set of eyes and pair of hands.
Yeah. We ended up parting about 4 months into the 1 year. Mm-hmm. And after that, I was on my own. And a beautiful synchronicity about the whole thing also was that he had the same exact camera. How random is this? Of all the cameras you can have, he had the same one. So when we would go shoot, I would go out on my own and they would go out on their own, and we'd come back and we'd show each other our photos. And, oh, wow, you were at the Blue Mosque today in Istanbul? Oh, yeah, I was too. Okay. And I would show him my pictures and he would say, why are your pictures always so much better than mine? I've got the same camera. We're in the same place. And so we turned it, and then all of a sudden he upped his game a little bit. And I just looked at his picture. I was like, whoa, that's pretty good. So we turned it into this friendly competition between us, and then I just started focusing on really making, images that I was in tune with myself and felt, I really feel my work before I photograph.
Magical happens when you align with your soul's purpose. Something magical happens. It's like when you step into the lane that you belong in, it's like things open up. Things start to happen for you that allow you to keep going deeper and deeper on that journey, It sounds like just having that point and shoot, being invited on this trip, then parting ways and being on your own started to really open the door for you to reconnect to yourself in so many ways, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And but at that time, I didn't really know this
it
was going to happen. I just knew that, and this is pre-social media. This is 04, 05. So I had a little website, a little rinky-dink website, and had a store where you could buy a picture or two. And I think I sold $500 the whole year. And I thought and that for me, it was fine. It was extra $500 to travel on. But I thought, well, no way am I going to be able to make a living at this when I get back. Like, it's just, friends and family are supporting me.
I'm really interested to hear about the story about the blanket weaver. You had a photo.
You're great at segue, by the way.
Thank you. I enjoy this.
You're great at segue.
So, anyway, that photo was so. I hope I didn't see that on one of the photos you sent to me to drop in.
Actually, I think it's here. Where is it? It's right there.
Yes, it's in the back. It's behind you.
Yeah.
But it was a picture of these very well-worn hands, and they were dyed two different colors. Yeah, maybe you can show it. It's so cool. There it is. Yeah. There was a special moment that you shared when you took that photo. What did that mean to you? What did that spark for you?
Well, at the time, I didn't really know. I just knew that I was overwhelmed with curiosity would be the best thing. It was like, how? So to paint a picture of where I was in northern Vietnam. And traditionally, minority peoples have found themselves in harder to get to places. If you go back before roads, were built.
Sure. Remote locations.
Yeah, remote locations. It was harder for armies to get to them. It was safer places for them to be. They could be alerted way in advance of advancing armies, or So the Mao people came from China into northern Vietnam, and have been there for centuries. And the Hmong people, they all dress in different colors and different styles according to the group that they're in. And so I was hiking in a place called Sapa, S-A-P-A, Sapa. 9 months into my 1-year trip, I'm on my own. 9 months is the cycle of birth.
It's endings and new beginnings.
9 months, my new life was born that moment on that trail in that valley under the largest mountain in Vietnam is called Phan Xipang. I was hiking down into that valley and up from another trail. Here she came, and our trails merged together into one. Again, metaphorical and literally.
Right.
And she was in front of me, maybe 30 yards, and the Hmong dress in like a dark indigo blue. She had a pillbox hat. She had these metal earrings that she probably had made. Long pants and embroidered stitching all over her dress. Really cool. And she had these blue and green hands, and she was walking away from me. So as she walked away from me, she was her hands were flashing blue and green. And I just remember, like, what in the world? Wow, woman with 2 colored hands. Like, I have no idea. So I rushed up behind her, and it was just me and her on this trail. Tapped her on the shoulder, and she turns around, and here I am. And she kind of freaked out a little bit.
Because this guy on the trail behind me.
Yeah. And so I kind of physically belittled myself and like backed away, and non-threatening postures, and asked her, because I didn't speak Vietnamese. I said, "What's on your hands?" And she kind of looked for a second, and I could see her thinking, like, how can I express this? And she kind of made some motions. She went, I weave. And then she dunked her hands like she was dunking in 2 vats. I've ultimately found out that she was a blanket weaver, blanket dyer, and that was indigo on her hands. And from dyeing the yarns to keep the colors true, she's got 2 different processes that put her hands in these vats of dye.
Yes.
And I took one shot. It was one shot with that little camera, and I didn't think anything about it.
I love it.
And
amazing.
It paved the way for the beginnings of this career. There's so much in that image, and that, her expression to me, one motion to me opened up a whole new world for me. So be careful with how you treat others. It's almost like she treated me with trust. She trusted me to sit and open her hands and let me take a picture of her hands. And, it's...
what does that moment mean to you now, looking back?
Again, back to the same, just what I said, just like our expression to others, how we treat others can totally impact their lives, can totally be a positive influence on their lives, so it's almost the golden rule wrapped up in an image. It's like, be aware of how you're treating other people.
Always.
The waiter. I mean, a good way to test good people is go out to eat with them. And if they're rude to the waiter and like above the waiter, or, like, it's not really somebody I want to hang out with.
Right.
Maybe later when they become more aware of what they're doing, but we're all the same.
It's really interesting, as we go on our journey of awakening. Everybody's on the journey, but everybody's on their own journey. So everybody's in their own lane, going at their own pace. And I've really learned to honor that, to honor where every single person is on that journey, because they are there by the choices they've made, by the soul contracts they've entered into even before coming into this life, I believe. And also, they're right where they need to be, as we are right where we need to be right now. Right?
I think so. I mean, I've been in other places in my life, a bunch of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've all been in every place that the people.
Not yet. Not for me. I'm still working on it.
It's an eternal journey, that's for
I
sure.
think so.
But I've certainly learned to honor the path of every individual, even if it was difficult for me to observe, even if people weren't showing up in the way that I would show up, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they weren't able to. They're not capable of being reactive or responding from a higher perspective, or, you know, maybe people are stuck in a victim mindset or whatever it is. It's really interesting to observe from a third party. I'm really an observer of people and behavior. And so I'm so curious as to what the pain is that is driving the behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really interesting. It's been an interesting journey.
That's normally where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Unresolved pain and
Always.
suffering.
Always. You know, I'm going to fast forward a little bit, because you had this incredible opportunity in 2013 to go to India. And tell me how that opportunity came about. And you created this really cool short film.
Mm-hmm. With the help of a lot of people.
Right, right. Tell me about that experience and how it came about and what it meant for you. And
I'll also just kind of, rather than fast forward, I'll just hit some points along the way to get us there. So the blanket weaver happened. I got back into the United States. Someone convinced me to set up on a street corner down on West 6th Street, and I call it my chicken coop days.
Yeah.
And I thought, what the heck, I'll just try it. It's only $25 to set up a booth and a little art market. And it was an immediate impact and immediately obvious that people were responding to the images. So I went all in 2006. I got back in 2005 after the 1 year. Mm-hmm. And then 2010, I'd been showing my work at larger festivals and larger, museum, or not museum at that point, photo fest, like a gallery work. And then 2010, National Geographic Image Collection signed me, and I've been with them since then. So in 2013, I was approached by my first museum, the Museum of the Southwest, and they said, "We love your work. We want you to be part of our 2013, actually. They contacted me in 2012. So 2013 was when I had my first exhibition in a museum setting, and they gave me the theme, but that was it. You're the artist, like, go nuts. So they said, myth and legend is your theme. We'll have a painter and a mixed media and a potter and a photographer, and all of you are going to be shooting or creating work under this theme of myth and legend. And so my immediate choice, like, just came like right there, was this pilgrimage called Kumbh Mela. And it was like, it swooped in, but Kumbh Mela is every 12 years. So I wasn't sure when they said myth and legend. I thought Kumbh Mela is mythical and it's legendary. So I Googled it, and sure enough, that 12th year fell in time for me.
Of course it would, right?
2013, amazing. And the exhibit needed to be ready for fall of 2013. So I was like, I can go, I can create, I can build this thing. And it was all aligned for me. It's pretty good timing.
Yeah. So
that whole story, we could do a whole podcast on how that all came about, but
I'd love to deep dive into that another time for sure, and just do a whole conversation about the unfolding of that project. How did it turn into a film?
So I always got to take the bar and go like this to it, just got to keep pushing and growing, I guess. I don't know.
Soft Paper Dreams, it's called, right?
Soft Paper Dreams. I wanted my first exhibit to have a motion element rather than just a photographic still exhibit. I wanted to bring in motion. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of different crazy stuff happened to get us to the point where we got on that plane. I left with a young man named Travis Tank, who I admired his work, and we got on the plane to India, not knowing. I was like, just, I was the director, but there was no story. It's a documentary, so just hang on for the ride. You're about to witness some God winks. I believed in these.
Something powerful is going to happen, because you can't go to something that huge.
Oh yeah.
Like 30 million people, or some crazy number of
120
of humanity. Okay, 120. I mean, without knowing you're going to capture something.
Yeah.
Powerful.
But why or what? What's the meaning? Why is it? Well, these things, I always say, these images capture me first. Mm-hmm. I'm just a witness. I have an intention, but I'm a witness, and I have to wait. And sometimes I'm scratching my head, and sometimes I'm questioning, what in the world am I doing? Put
a link to your website for Cloth Paper Dreams, so people can view the short, and then also, if they want to, watch the full feature of it.
Yeah, it's an 11-minute short film. There's a trailer out there that's maybe a minute, but it's an 11-minute short film that you can view right now on clothpaperdreams.com. We did sell it out to distribution. It does live now with Gaia. You probably know of Gaia, don't you? You know of Gaia?
Of course.
GAIA.com. Yeah. It's out there. So if you have a subscription to Gaia, you can view it. And I love comments too. So if you comment if you watch it. But yeah, it's it made it out there for the world to see, and it ended up being a very successful.
Imagery is so beautiful.
I used to bawl every time I'd watch it. I did. I just like. I wouldn't bawl, but you'd catch me over in the corner, like wiping a tear from my eye for sure.
That's like your soul.
So emotional.
Your soul expressed in film, right? And it was
so emotional.
A spiritual experience. I'm sure you can't come back from that and not be changed in some way.
Yeah, and the fact that the work that we put in to know what it took to do it, the synchronicities, the God winks, again, were all over this thing. Like,
right, you start to really pay attention once you kind of clue in. You're like, oh, I need to really pay attention to my life, because people miss those all the time. They're just too busy,
I'll share one significant God wink that happened during that filming. So it was a 18-day project. Mm-hmm. There was 120 million people who attended this pilgrimage over 55 days. We were there for 18 of it. Great. It peaked at 30 million people on February the 10th, 2013. There were 30 million people. You could see it from space, they say.
What? I was in the serious? Oh my God.
One spot. Yeah, it was wild.
Crazy.
And we had probably walked 200 miles over those 18 days. Just people everywhere, like amazing. So we're wrapped. I mean, on this film, we're like, I'm worn out. It was like day 16, I think. Day 16. We're back at camp. A buddy of mine contacted me, and he said, he's in America. He says, hey, I want to come visit. This was like 2 weeks before. And I said, man, I'm on the biggest project of my life. I'm not going to have time to do much other than just work. He goes, oh, no, I'm going to come help and bring your bags and help you out in any way I can. He's a big dude. He's like 6'6", football player type, and he can carry a lot of bags.
Right. You're like, come on down.
Yeah, I got plenty of bags to carry. So he gets on a plane from America, and he flies, and he lands in Delhi. Mm-hmm. Now, with the amount of people that are going to this thing, number one, that are there, you can imagine the size of the tent camp area. It's 40 square miles of tents.
How would he even find you?
Get this. So he gets on a plane. He lands in Delhi. All the flights are delayed, of course. So many people going. Because the wealthier people take planes. Some even private helicopters. But most people walk, or most people ride the train, or most people are traveling that way. So there's just caravans of people walking. With the women have they're carrying everything they can for 2 weeks. And these huge things on top of there. So he gets to the airport. Sorry, flight's delayed. He goes to a coffee shop. Okay, sit in the coffee shop. Meanwhile, a guy had boarded a plane in where was he? Hong Kong. Boarded a plane in Hong Kong. An American who lives in Hong Kong flew to Delhi, got to the airport. Sorry, but your flight to Kumbh Mela is also delayed. He goes and sits at the same coffee shop. These two guys are sitting across from each other at the coffee shop, obviously waiting. I don't remember who spoke first or how that went down now, but where are you heading? I'm heading to Kumbh Mela. Oh, wow, me too. You know, where are you staying? Because there's so many places to stay there. And the man from Hong Kong says, well, I had to cancel my hotel because I had an extra day I needed to stay for work. And I got this camp on the south side of the river. It's called Kumbh Camp, India. And my friend looked in his bag and pulled it out, his receipt, and said, you got to be kidding me. We're staying in the same tent camp. I said, what do you do? He said, I'm a photographer. I'm here to bury my father's ashes. That man's name was Andre Eichmann, who was in the film. He's the River of Devotion.
The film, I just got goosebumps. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Chris walked in with Andre and delivered the River of Devotion story to this film on day 16 of 18. And when he walked in with Chris, you know, Chris is 6'6" and Andre's not a short guy, but they walk in. It's like, well, who's the new friend that Chris met?
Mm-hmm.
He introduces himself, and what are you doing here? Well, I'm a photographer, and I'm burying my father's ashes. My father died, 4 years ago, and I've been spreading his ashes all over the world. And Travis, my DP, my cinematographer, and I looked at each other like, do you mind if we film you? And of course, it might have been too early for that, but he said, no, I just personally, Well, the next morning he woke up in our camp and said, hey, I thought about it last night. I can feel the intention of this film. I want to be a part of this, and I'll allow you to film me delivering my father's ashes. So we went out on that boat that day, and Travis and my dad passed away in 2000, and Andre's dad passed away in 2007, I think, 2006 or 7. And this was 2013. So yeah, 6 years later. And Travis said, man, I could feel presence on that boat out there.
All those fathers were there together watching that.
Amazing. And so when I watched that scene,
I brought some tissue because you really pulling on my heartstrings right now.
I watched
up talking to you.
Yeah, it was powerful, and that's the kind of stuff that's been happening.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been happening. There's been a lull, a pause, as of late.
Temporary pause.
But I think it comes from being clear.
Yes. Clarity.
Clear intentions. I don't know if I have that at the moment about where this thing is going right now. But
every time we go through some sort of, what I would call ascension. Every time we ascend, we kind of have to come through these nexus points and squeeze through them to get to the next level. And then we come up, and we have to come back through that really tight bottleneck and squeeze through to go to the next level. And so when we're going through changes in our lives and we're going through ascension, we can feel very uncomfortable. We're being pressed, we're being squeezed spiritually, emotionally, physically through this really tight, narrow space. And it's forcing us to let go of things that aren't aligned anymore. And so these spaces where we feel lost or uncomfortable or not sure of our direction really are those bottlenecks or those eyes that we're squeezing through. And people overanalyze it and think it's so uncomfortable, nothing good can become of this circumstance or situation, when in fact you're just about to birth something so incredible into your life. But it might require that you sit in that discomfort and let go of something or someone or a mindset or anything that's not aligned with who you are and who you're becoming,
Mm-hmm.
So,
I can relate to that now, I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm in a tight spot.
Yeah.
Which is, again, I love the metaphor of that, when the birth canal. I mean, the birth is going through a tight spot.
I was literally talking about that today. I was a guest on a different show.
Look at you go.
I was a guest earlier today, but I was talking about how our spiritual evolution is like a process of birthing something new, and it's really painful sometimes. But just like when you're giving birth to a baby, you can't stop that process and not allow that baby to be born. It's coming, you know. You got to kind of sit in it, be in that discomfort, be in that pain, and not know how or when or what's going to happen, but know that it's going to happen. And when it does, on the other side of that, something really beautiful is waiting for you. We don't always know what that beautiful thing is, you know. It could just be something that is intangible or esoteric or something just for us on a spiritual level, some information we're gifted or downloaded, or it could be something tangible like a new career shift or a new relationship or a move to a different place. But if we don't have the courage to just stay in that discomfort for a little while and work through that, we'll never know what it's going to be, what could be. You know, I think people get stuck in that tight space, that uncomfortable and tight space, and then they tap out, and they don't allow themselves to break through and birth something new. You know, it's just
I like the word ascension. I used the word break the other day. I need a break, and I don't mean like I need a break like a vacation. I just need a break, like a level up, like a breakthrough.
Yeah.
Break.
When we level up, it's
Or do I need one? Or do I need? Is this just a desire? I just feel like it's time to sort of,
well, those nudges, right? Those are the little God winks that you pay attention to, or those synchronicities, right? Those little nudges that you get. Those are the things that propel us forward. And it's very easy to remain complacent and remain the same. It's easy. That's why so many people choose to remain stuck in their lives and not do the work and not sit in the uncomfortable spaces and not trust the process, and then wonder why they're not changing their lives, why magical things aren't being invited in. It's not a hall pass. It's not a spa day vacation. Growth. It's literally painful.
It's hard work.
It's work.
I've done some.
I can tell. I know you have. Nobody gets through life unscathed totally. But those of us who are really willing to go into the dark, that's when we really find the magic. It's going through the dark, finding ourselves, loving ourselves, accepting who we are, and letting go of everything that doesn't align with our truth. That's where the power lies. And you have such a gift for capturing in your images the soul of the people you're shooting, or the energy of the moment, this mystical, intangible energy is captured in a tangible photograph. You're so talented, Greg. I love your
work. Thank you. There is something at work bigger than me here.
And you're allowing that to just channel through you. When you point that camera, you capture something.
It captures me first. That's no true statement. These images capture me first. I can feel these things now, even, but certainly when I'm photographing, I'm moved.
There's an energy to it.
Yeah.
I can't explain. I was on your Instagram today, and I wanted to like every single thing. I go, that's a bit like.
I saw you blowing me up.
I'm kind of a stalker if I'm liking 85 photos. So I did want to like them all, but I held back. You can find Greg on Instagram at Greg Davis Photography on Instagram. And your website is gregdavisphotography.com.
I keep it simple.
Right. So do you do individual photographs for people, or are you pretty much a location photographer where you're traveling and documenting?
Am I hireable for someone?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Or
an artistic practice for you?
It's a weakness of mine that I don't accept. some things. I was just offered a wedding down in, I forget where, but some cool location. And she loves my work and was like, I want your touch on my wedding. I just can't.
You
I
have
don't.
to honor your truth.
Yeah, I don't think with expectations.
Yeah.
It's just an expect. Someone wants something really bad, and they want me to deliver that thing, and it's never really been that way for me.
Kind of
My work has
experience.
always been, let me engage in my world and bring back the soul
Yes.
to you, and then you can choose to engage or not.
Right.
And honestly, a lot of people don't, and that's okay. Some people walk by. Some people say the darndest things too.
It's not
But
meant for them.
right, it's just, it is what it is. And so I don't really shoot a lot of work. Now, if it's a company
Mhm.
and a company wants to work with me,
Mhm.
then it makes a little more sense for me to work with the company to do that. And I can work with an art
I was
director.
just curious.
Yeah.
The scope and direction, but obviously,
I've solely made this work um, by offering the object, the piece of art, to someone. That's where 90% of my business lies in that.
sure, that makes sense.
I do some speaking engagements. Sometimes I'm not quite as I used to be. I used to welcome that in and intend on it, and then things would happen. And I was doing some, but at this point, I've sort of pulled back the reins on public.
Well, you know you're the master of your life. So anything that you
It's
create,
the most creative thing that we can do.
right? You really are the master of your life. So you'll get clarity and intention, and you'll draw the next thing to you. It'll find you sooner than you think.
I've
Sooner
got
than
I've got an interesting opportunity right now that's come. It'll be my first major. I've had an exhibition overseas in Mexico,
Mhm.
my first international, but I've got one in Saudi Arabia. Just opened up their visa processes for Westerners, so it's really easy to go now.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
super cool.
I'm in conversations about ironically, I'm about bringing the Indian pilgrimage that we talked about earlier, the Cloth Paper Dreams film, the 24-piece photographic exhibit. I bring in sitar and tabla, traditional Indian music. I have the Indian Dance Company do their beautiful dance of the rivers and the pilgrimage,
That is so cool, man.
and Indian food. So it's an experience. So I'm kind of been positioning myself as bringing cultural experiences to Texans is really what it's been targeted at. Is because
Yeah.
that first project ended up in 8 museums, and now I'm working on one in Oaxaca, and I'm going to bring that to the Waco opening of the Waco Art Center. I'm bringing in dance and mole and mezcal and all this stuff to create the experience of
When is
Oaxaca.
that going to be? When are you envisioning that happening?
That the Waco Museum is going to be completed in fall of 2020, and I'm not 100% lock on this thing, but I feel like I'm a pretty good lock for this thing. We've just got some financial things to work out.
Yep, I want to come check it out if I can.
Well, that's a close enough spot. It's only a few
I
hours,
like it.
and that's fall 2020. But that's so all that stuff sort of coming together right now. I'm working on all that.
Right. That's cool.
And in the meantime, doing some art shows and opening my studio this weekend and
Right. You're
hustling.
you're doing what you love. I think you're a gift to the world.
Well,
Your
thank
art
you. You too.
is
You too.
spectacular. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on my show today. And I would love to have you share a piece of wisdom for people who might be struggling
It's
in
on
their
my.
dark night. I try to get every guest to share something that might have helped you to pick yourself up and move through, or just something that helped you in life, a philosophy. I love that you have this saying that there's no reason to look back because you're not headed that way.
That's exact. You read my mind. It was on my business card for a decade, on the back side of my business card, and it would always get people. I loved the reaction that would have on the front of my business card. I don't have one here, but it was the blanket weaver, the hands, and on the back, when people would flip it over, it would say, "There's no reason to look back. You're not headed that way," and I think that's important for
So,
all of us.
because people get caught in the past, it's like you're clinging to something so hard, you're forgetting to create your future. We're
Yeah.
here to create and live and experience and evolve. and look forward. But we can't
Yeah.
do that if we're always looking behind us, right? Grasping at pain and suffering and trauma and grabbing onto those things. Those are things that we're here to move through, right?
Well, those things are known.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big problem. Those are known.
Right.
And the unknown,
There's fear attached to the unknown.
fear attached to the unknown.
Yeah.
We live in the present moment where neither of those exist.
That's the magic, right? That's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Is the now moment. And thank you for sharing this now moment with me, Greg.
You're welcome.
It's an honor to have you on my show. Thank you so much.
I'm super stoked that you invited me, and hope to meet you in person
We
one
will
of these
meet
days.
in person. We will.
Yeah.
Well, to my audience, thank you so much for joining us for this awesome conversation today. I hope you're all kind to yourselves. Have a beautiful day. And I love y'all. We'll see you later. Thanks for tuning in.